The undead, zombies, are spreading across the globe, and civilization is on the brink of collapse. Amidst this catastrophe, a wretched man finds himself trapped inside an elevator with one of these undead creatures. He tries desperately to escape, but to no avail. He is surrounded on all sides. Will he manage to survive and get out of the elevator? And what is happening in the world that led to him being trapped in this horrifying situation? This is what we will find out in today's summary. Let's begin. The film begins in Rome, Italy, where we are introduced to a character named Claudio. Claudio is a businessman with extensive experience in his field, enjoying exceptional fame and dazzling success. We see Claudio leaving his home to get into his car with a driver on his way to his company. Claudio is surprised to see that the driver is a new face and asks for his identity. The driver explains that his regular driver is having some issues and that he was sent as a replacement. Claudio agrees and gets in, and the car sets off. On the way, the driver strikes up a conversation with Claudio, telling him that he studied economics and hopes for a chance to work with him. Here, we see a side of Claudio's personality. He is arrogant and conceited. This is evident in his harsh reply to the driver, telling him with blatant rudeness and without any pleasantries that he will not hire him or help people like him. The driver is deeply shocked but remains silent and continues on his way until he drops Claudio off at his company headquarters. Upon arrival, Claudio enters the company and is met by an employee named Sylvia, who brings him his coffee and tries to remind him of who she is, as she is a new employee. Claudio pretends to know her well and promises to speak with his assistant, Sira, to secure her a permanent position. It becomes clear that Claudio doesn't actually remember Sylvia, but being an arrogant man who is attracted to her, intends to secure her job anyway. Claudio leaves Sylvia and heads to the elevator to go up to his office. Also in the elevator is his colleague Marta. Claudio starts talking to her, and from their conversation, we learn that he is cheating on his wife, Lorena, with Marta, who in turn is cheating on her husband with him. Claudio tells Marta he wants their affair to continue for a long time, but Marta, who seems to have had enough of this situation, tells him she will not cheat on her husband again. Claudio replies with utter audacity that he is cheating on his wife with her, and as long as they are both happy, there is no problem. Enraged, Marta slaps him. Moments later, the elevator reaches her floor and she gets out, leaving him alone. Claudio continues his ascent in the elevator. During this time, his wife Lorena calls him with strange news. There are reports of unprecedented violence and riots sweeping through Rome and the entire world, and the army has been deployed in the city. Claudio dismisses her words and pays them no mind. While he is talking to her, the elevator suddenly malfunctions. Claudio asks Lorena to end the call so he can figure out what's wrong with the elevator. She agrees and hangs up. Claudio contacts the elevator technicians to fix the malfunction and get him out. A maintenance worker on duty tells him he will send 2 technicians to fix it. Claudio agrees and ends the call. He then calls his assistant, Sira, who asks where he is, reminding him that he has an important meeting with investors who are waiting for him in the office. Claudio informs her that he is trapped in the elevator, but is trying to get out to make the meeting. Claudio calls the worker again to ask about the repairmen. The worker replies that he has already sent them and they should have arrived. Claudio gets the technician's phone number from the supervisor and calls them. And here, the real madness begins. The workers tell him they are on their way, but suddenly, Claudio hears the sounds of a violent attack and screaming before the line goes dead, leaving him completely bewildered. He immediately calls the supervisor back, tells him what happened, and asks him to come fix the elevator himself. The worker agrees. Soon after, Lorena calls again, telling him the riots have intensified and that she is terrified of being alone in the house and wants him to come home immediately. Claudio tells her he will send his friend Stefano to take her to a safe place until he can get out. Indeed, Claudio calls Stefano and asks him to do so, and Stefano agrees. Claudio tries to open the elevator door himself and manages to pry open a small gap. Not enough to get out, but enough to see the floor he is stuck on. He starts shouting for help, but no one answers. Then something stranger than fiction occurs. Claudio sees Marta before him, crying for help. But before he can understand what is happening, mysterious figures drag her away. It isn't long before 2 of the undead appear before him, about to attack. Here, the horrifying truth becomes clear. A zombie pandemic has spread throughout the world, and even within his company. They were the ones who dragged Marta away, and now they want to kill Claudio, but they are unable to enter the elevator. They hear a sound from a distance and leave the area, leaving Claudio in a state of utter terror. The disaster worsens when Lorena calls him, terrified, telling him that no one has come to help her. Moments later, Claudio hears the sounds of his apartment being broken into and his wife screams, which then fall silent. Claudio is devastated, realizing the undead have reached her and killed her. He contacts the maintenance supervisor again, begging him to get him out immediately. But suddenly, the worker starts screaming that monsters are attacking him, and the line goes dead. Claudio knows that the supervisor has also met his end, and his fate is to be trapped here indefinitely. A short while later, Marta appears, now transformed into a zombie. She tries to attack Claudio, but cannot get inside. Acting quickly, Claudio grabs a metal rod from the elevator wall and bludgeons her over the head until she is dead. He then uses the rod to push her corpse away from the door, so he doesn't have to see the gruesome sight. Claudio covers the bloodstains on the elevator floor with papers he has with him. After some time, Claudio spots Sylvia trying to escape from the undead. He calls out to her to either get him out or hide with him in the elevator. But at that moment, a zombie attacks her. She manages to escape, then turns back and kills it. Sylvia runs towards Claudio, happy to have survived, and he encourages her. But minutes later, two more of the undead attack her and finish her off right before his eyes. Claudio is left shocked and helpless. Later, Claudio receives a call from his wife Lorena's phone. The person on the line tells him she is safe and unharmed, but he barely has time to rejoice before the undead attack her again. He hears her scream, and then the line goes completely silent. He knows that this time, his wife is truly dead. Claudio is devastated once more and weeps, powerless. He sits in the elevator, desperate and not knowing what to do. In the midst of this despair, one of his colleagues, Marchini, appears, fleeing from the undead. He begs Claudio to let him into the elevator, but Claudio, in a state of deep despair, doesn't help him, only telling him that the door is stuck. The undead reach the spot and Marchini flees, his fate unknown. Not long after, Claudio finds a large number of the undead gathering in front of the elevator door. He keeps hitting them, and in the middle of this chaos, he spots his assistant, Sira. They run towards her. Claudio goes mad, screaming to save her, but they chase her into the office. He hears her scream and sees blood seeping from under the office door, knowing they have killed her. Amidst all this, Claudio hears gunfire coming from outside. He looks and sees a police officer expertly killing the undead. After finishing them off, the officer approaches Claudio and introduces himself as Marcello. Marcello asks Claudio if he has been bitten, which Claudio denies. At that moment, Claudio sees a zombie sneaking up behind Marcello and warns him. Marcello quickly turns and eliminates it. Marcello thanks Claudio for saving him and promises to help him in return. Marcello gives Claudio a pistol and a walkie-talkie, telling him they will communicate through it so Claudio can guide him to the maintenance room to fix the elevator. Claudio agrees, thanks him, and Marcello sets off. Claudio begins to guide Marcello via the walkie-talkie. Indeed, Marcello reaches the maintenance room and restores the power. Claudio tries to open the elevator door but fails, realizing something is blocking it from the outside. Meanwhile, a large number of the undead gather in front of the elevator, among them his assistant Sira and his former colleagues. Claudio is horrified and unable to bring himself to kill them. Marcello urges him over the walkie-talkie to kill them, saying he has no choice. Claudio musters his courage and shoots them one by one until he has eliminated them all. Claudio contacts Marcello and tells him what he has done. Marcello is pleased and tells him he is coming to help him open the door. But moments later, Marcello starts screaming over the walkie-talkie that a large number of the undead are attacking him, and then the line cuts out. Claudio knows that Marcello has also died, which sends him into another shock, as every glimmer of hope for rescue is extinguished with the death of his potential savior. Claudio sits alone in the elevator, his despair absolute, with nothing but Marcello's pistol. A little later, more of the undead gather at the elevator. Claudio decides to end his suffering, puts the gun in his mouth, and resolves to commit suicide. But before he can pull the trigger, he hears Marcello's voice from the roof of the elevator, telling him to open the top hatch so he can get in. Claudio uses the metal rod to open the hatch, and Marcello enters. Together, they kill the remaining undead. Marcello sits with Claudio and reveals the terrible truth. He was bitten during the last attack, and it's only a matter of time before he turns. In his final moments, Marcello talks about his wife, Chiara, whom he loves dearly, and says he isn't worried about her because he has placed her in a secure government shelter. Claudio is shocked to learn of the existence of shelters for officers and their families. He asks Marcello about the cause of the pandemic. Marcello tells him that the higher-ups claim the pandemic started from a disease in a pet, and that they had known about it for some time, which is why they secured their families. However, Marcello suspects this story and believes the true cause is a secret government experiment gone wrong. Marcello tells Claudio that he is starting to feel the transformation and asks him to kill him before he fully turns. Claudio staunchly refuses. Moments later, Marcello turns into a zombie. Claudio tries to fend him off, and a stray bullet from the gun hits Claudio in the leg, but he pushes through the pain, shoves Marcello away, and puts 2 bullets in his head, finally finishing him. Claudio looks at Marcello's body in shock, unable to believe what has happened. Afterward, more of the undead appear at the elevator, and Claudio kills them one by one. After he is done, he feels a profound despair and once again considers ending his own life. But hope returns again in the form of a call from his wife Lorena's phone. This time, she confirms she is truly alive and well, that she managed to escape the first attack, and that army forces found her and took her to a safe shelter. Claudio is overjoyed and asks her for the shelter's location, but before she can answer, his phone's battery dies, and he's unable to find out where she is. Despite this, Claudio is incredibly happy that his wife is safe, and this renews his will to escape. Claudio uses the metal rod again and tries to dislodge the object blocking the elevator door. After repeated attempts, he succeeds, and finally, he manages to open the door. He uses Marcello's body as a step to climb out, and is shocked by the sight of the corpses of the undead he himself had killed. He walks through the area, stunned. Claudio wanders through the devastated company, finding nothing but the bodies of the undead everywhere. Realizing with shock that all his friends and colleagues are dead, he sees one of his female colleagues turned into a zombie but with a severed leg, crawling towards him, trying to attack. He kills her to put her out of her misery. Finally, Claudio exits the building to find the streets completely destroyed, filled with corpses and devoid of any human life. He is on the verge of losing his mind as he sees how the world has changed in the few hours he spent in the elevator. As he walks, he finds a dead zombie with a bottle of milk next to it. He remembers Lorena had asked him to get milk, so he takes the bottle, hoping to give it to his wife when he sees her again. Before he can catch his breath, a zombie on the ground lunges at him, but before Claudio can react, a bullet from an army sniper positioned on a nearby rooftop takes it out. Claudio starts waving at the officer, who realizes he is a human, not a zombie, and decides to rescue him and take him to a safe shelter. And so, we know that Claudio is on his way to safety, and he will eventually meet his wife, Lorena, and everything will be all right. And although the end of the world has begun, the arrogant Claudio has been changed forever.